How are you doing there, Chairman Covey? It has been. This is your town hall. It's your chance to make sure that your people hear about what you would like them to hear about. So, well, absolutely. I would be more than happy to. Let me go ahead and let's switch here. There we go. First of all, thank you for hosting this RPT status report call hall, and as opposed to a town hall tonight. We are. I'm doing these across the state to keep everybody informed of the state of the Republican Party amidst the greatest pandemic of modern times. As we kick off our presentation today, I'd like to take a moment to recognize the incredible work the RPT team has done. Our State Republican Party Executive Committee, our county chairs, of which you are both an SREC member and a county chair, our officials committee, our precinct chairs, our many, many volunteers, and our RPT team continue to do during this time. Our great thanks to President Donald J. Trump and Governor Greg Abbott for their leadership as they make tough choices in an effort to save lives. Again, I want to underscore the leadership of our SREC members, our county chairs, and our Senate district convention chairs, like you, and all the work that you've done and they've done and continue to do within the Senate districts to manage the coronavirus pandemic and its obvious impact on our work. Most visibly, your leadership was evident in the mass undertaking to assure our Senate district and county conventions were properly handled in the midst of the first days of the national, state, and local management of the pandemic. Each of you helped smoothly lead that process locally, either personally or with county chairs and temporary Senate district convention chairs, complying with local emergency declarations. Leaders of nearly 300 conventions around the state ensured that this effort that could have come off the rails very, very easily instead worked smoothly and efficiently. Thank you. Thank all of you very much. Again, it was amazing. And then last week we had new developments. President Donald Trump extended his coronavirus social distancing guidelines to April 30th, and Governor Greg Abbott joined the president in extending those guidelines out to April 30th for the state of Texas. These extensions didn't directly affect the postponements of our Senate district and county conventions, as we had already recommended moving those local conventions well past May 15th based on the original CDC 8-week suspension deadline. And we had already made provisions for those conventions to be held as late as June 27th. The Republican Party of Texas is 100% committed to the coronavirus response plans that continue to be communicated by President Trump, Vice President Mike Pence, and Governor Abbott. We have a duty to the safety and health of those who work at the party and to those who wish to become delegates to the state convention. The President, the Vice President, and the Governor have given us the information we need to make the decisions we must. Now, let's talk about the Democrats. They have made it clear by their actions that they truly will not let a good crisis go to waste. They are all in for advancing their extremist positions and prioritizing naked power grabs over caring for our fellow Texans. They did that when they tried to force our primary runoff to a 100% mail-in ballot, even though the Democrat county clerk for Travis County stated plainly that mail-in ballots are the voting method most prone to both error and fraud. But Democrats have never let disenfranchisement stop them. Nancy Pelosi, too, tried to pack national ballot harvesting and 100% nationwide mail-in ballots into the stimulus package. With them focused like this and pushing like this, even during this pandemic, we at the Republican Party of Texas must be more prepared than ever to do battle this November and to provide the victories and the majorities we'll need to ensure the advancement of Republican principles and the continuation and expansion of Republican leadership from the White House to the courthouse. The November election is coming. The mission of the Republican Party of Texas is to elect and re-elect Republicans to office. Our work continues in earnest on that mission. I am incredibly grateful for the vision and foresight we had to begin our march to victory for 2020 immediately following the 2018 election. Had we not spent every day since that election preparing for victory this November, we would be in a very difficult position right now. But because we went to work immediately in November 2018 to prepare for November 2020, we are right on track to execute our plans despite the worst pandemic in a century. Because of the vision and foresight we had and the hard work we put in, the Republican Party of Texas ended 2019 with a record 4.4 million on hand. And we head into this second quarter of 2020 with a never-before-reached 4.7 million on hand to defeat Democrats this November, including 2.5 million specifically in our victory account for field efforts for November. We remain prepared and on track with our plans for November. To that end, I'm excited to be here to report that in the middle of this, the worst pandemic in a century, the Republican Party of Texas has continued to execute towards victory in November. Thank you so much, Chairman Covey, for having me here today. Absolutely. So that was a challenge. It was a first ever electronic meeting of the State Republican Executive Committee. We'd never had that before. And frankly, it took a lot of work because one of the important things to us is that each of the delegates, each of the SREC members, that their rights and their responsibilities be honored, and that everything we do, as we're working towards our state convention, it's not just a convention. It is the place at which we elect our presidential electors, the people who vote for the president next January. We also elect our national delegates, the people who will elect our nominee at the national convention. And so with all of that at stake, we could not do it lighthearted. We had to get everything right. And so we went through a process figuring out how to move the convention, how to do that in accordance with Robert's rules, how best to build the support and build the acknowledgement. So at this very first ever electronic meeting, first of all, we did a lot of work in advance. We had some test runs. You participated in one of those. In doing those test runs, we had a chance to see, to let people know how are we going to handle votes, because that's the other thing. It's not just a conference call, and it's not just a video conference call even. We had to have the ability to do record votes, and then we also had to have the ability to do an equivalent of voice votes. And how could we make sure and use that and do so in a way that everybody felt comfortable and everybody felt heard? How could, with 64 members of the committee plus staff on the line, how could we make sure that only those with the right to to address the whole body would be able to do it, but those that had the right, how could we make sure that they were able to do so and able to do so in a fair manner? All of this stuff kind of works automatically when you're in a room together. It was a real challenge. But I'm so proud of the group. We did a lot of work ahead of time, some practice runs, tried out some different alternatives, thought through a couple of things, tested out a couple of things. And as a result, when we got to the meeting on Saturday, it really went off flawlessly. And part of that was due to the incredible commitment that every SREC member has to making sure that we as a party function well, and the way everybody understood the stakes that are here. I mean, what is at stake is nothing short of the presidency of the United States. Yep. Yeah, it has been crazy. And I was talking with someone about it. First of all, I really appreciate the hard work the entire team has put in. Our executive director, Kyle Wadley, this is third convention to work on. Dion Starnes, who's the volunteer head of the committee on organization, on convention arrangements. She and a fellow SREC member with you. Everybody did a lot of great work, but frankly, we couldn't have even done it had there not been a window available we only had several weeks we could possibly move to, and it turned out that miraculously there was a week that was available right there in the middle of that window, and that was fantastic. So it was a mix of real preparation meeting a miracle, and between the two, fortunately we had fantastic force majeure provisions in our contracts. We had great attorneys who volunteer. Our general counsel, Wade Emmert's fantastic. But we had also built up good relationships. And so Kyle Watley and the rest of the team, when we went to work with the Convention Center, it is, as far as we know, the biggest political convention in the free world. And as a result, there are only 3 places in the entire state of Texas where we can have it. And so to be able to move to within a very narrow window of time, and to be able to do it at that same location and incur not only no penalties, but no additional cost for either the party or the attendees, that really was miraculous. And so that was actually one of the big 3 things that the SREC members voted on Saturday. So the first was a vote to allow us to have an electronic meeting. The second was to vote to move the date of the convention from mid-May to mid-July. So now the convention's going to be July 16th to 18th, still at the George R. Brown Convention Center. Still, our main convention hotel is going to be the Marriott Marquis. We still have all the same meeting rooms, all the same space, and it really is mind-boggling. Those contracts, those arrangements were originally made 3 years ago, and yet we were able to move them on a dime with less than 4 months' notice. That really was fantastic. And so the SREC voted to approve the move of that convention date. And then finally, the SREC voted to change the allocation of delegates for the national convention. And that was one that easily could have been confusing. Now, both these last 2 votes, the move of the date to July and the change in allocation of delegates, both those votes ended up being unanimous, and that's really fantastic. Absolutely. Health and safety of our people and our delegates is the most important thing. Oh, shoot. Yeah, sorry about that, Mr. Halverson. We got a message via the chat that they were having a hard time hearing your questions on the Facebook stream. So I'll make sure to repeat it. The question was, what kind of response I have to people who are concerned potentially about health concerns when the convention happens. Is that right? Yep. Yep. Okay. Obviously, safety and health of our staff and our volunteers and our candidates and all of our grassroots activists who come to convention is really of preeminent importance to us. We that is so critical that everybody stay healthy and safe. And so we absolutely, by the time convention comes in mid-July, certainly hope that all this is behind us. Certainly hope that we have a lot of new information and new ways to attack this. But I can assure everyone we've got a team of people looking into this. We have a work group looking into alternatives right now for conventions. And we will be looking into making sure that when we do have this, it is safe. That we've gone through all of this to keep everybody safe. We wouldn't blow it at the end.
Can you talk to us, here in this area, we've been impacted quite a bit, like everyone else, but maybe not in as big an area as maybe Houston or Austin, just because Orange and SD3 is a more rural area. But we also, I found that the locals here don't complain a lot. And so we might complain that crawfish season is a little short, but when it comes to helping people, we pitch in and do things. What are you seeing around the state as far as Republicans pitching in to help? And can you talk to us about RPT serves?
Absolutely. That was exactly where I was going to go with this. Republicans in Texas have a tradition of helping each other. And it's not surprising when you think about it. Texas has more natural disasters than any other state in the Union. And that's obviously something we wish wasn't true. But as a result, both our governor and our elected officials, they have experience dealing with really terrible situations. But also we as Texans have experience helping each other. And the last time we had to really fire up this effort was during right after Hurricane Harvey. And you guys saw that and you saw it firsthand. Republicans from all over Texas who could help helping those in need. And we fired up that same initiative again now. Now it's different because the devastation's not as obvious and the devastation's not as centralized and it's not as limited, frankly. We have people in need all over the state. The good news about that is everybody can help exactly where you are. I went down and donated at my local blood bank. We have people going down and donating at their local food banks. There's a lot of things we can do where we are. One of the best things you can do is just check in on an elderly neighbor and obviously do it with appropriate social distancing, but just to do a porch wave and just to let people know you care and that you're willing to help to the extent they need them. That is such an important thing to do right now. And I encourage everybody to go to our RPT Serves Facebook group, reach out, get some ideas, share some ideas, and let's organize and let's really make a difference for the better in our fellow Texans' lives.
Absolutely. And I, like you said, very proud of what we're doing, and just encourage all of our folks to continue to, check on their friends, check on their neighbors. Chairman Dickey, I did get a couple questions just from local constituents about they heard the news articles about the Democrats pushing for mail-in ballots,
Oh yeah.
and I saw that. Can you talk to us maybe a little bit what happened there and kind of what we were able to do or our response?
Sure. So when everything started hitting back in early March, we were already facing city council and school board elections coming up in early May. May 2nd. And we were also facing, and you know this as a county chair, the primary runoff elections in late May. And so originally those were going to be after our state convention. Our state convention was going to be, May 14th through the 16th. And then early voting for the runoffs was going to start the very next Monday. We were going to have a week of runoffs, and then we were going to have the primary runoff elections. Well, fortunately, we've got 100 counties across the state that don't have primary runoffs, But those that do, we've got candidates who need to campaign, we've got voters who need to vote. And obviously, for mid-May, we don't know what things are going to look like. So we started having conversations between the parties because the governor, in official capacities, would prefer that he deal with both of us on a unified front. So he asked us to have conversations and see whether we could talk about what the right things to do. And in our front, just as we have seen multiple times before, we said, okay, well, the obvious thing to do is move off the date of the election so that people have time to figure out how to address this, so they have time to prepare. And so the election administrators have time to recruit, and we all have time to learn more about coronavirus and how to deal with it. And the Democrats said some of the right stuff, and then they started pushing on mail-in ballots. And this is a thing that very soon it became obvious they've been trying to do that nationally as well. Nancy Pelosi tried to jam in 100% national mail-in balloting and ballot harvesting nationwide into the stimulus bill. She came out today saying that's a priority for her in any future stimulus bill. It has nothing to do with stimulus. Unless you are a fan of election fraud and disenfranchising voters, which apparently she is, because even the Democrat county clerk for Travis County, even the Democrat election administrator for Harris County, both of them said, A, we can't even possibly gear up enough to handle all the extra work that comes in with mail-in ballots by November, much less by a May or July election. But there is no question mail-in ballots are not only the most susceptible to error, they are also the most susceptible to fraud. And so anyone who wants every voter's vote to count fully should absolutely hate the idea of expansion of mail-in ballots. And so we resisted that right away. The Democrats tried to play the press against us. They released a letter where they were frankly pretty snarky about what was and wasn't said. And then we responded. We went back to the Secretary of State. The governor did the right thing. He just moved the date of the election to July 14th, which ironically puts it in the middle of our committee days at convention, but does mean that we'll actually know who our runoff victors are before we get to our main meeting days at convention, and also means that early voting for that runoff won't conflict with 4th of July and won't be after our convention. So we're pretty excited about that.
I think that's terrific. I think that's what people want to know, that the elections are secure, that they're safe, and their vote counts. And appreciate all of your leadership on that. For the folks joining us, we are here with Chairman Covey, and he's been leading the response to the coronavirus for Republicans here in the state, doing a terrific job there. Mr. Chairman, you touched on it earlier. Could you maybe touch again on how long, how focused are we on winning in November? And does this coronavirus derail us, or are we able to be flexible? I hear a couple of kids join us.
As I say, I think I successfully muted that.
There we go.
Yeah, we are 100% focused on winning in November. There's a lot of things we have to do. There's a lot of logistics for our convention, for the national convention, for the primary runoff. We have all of the logistics we have to juggle at the same time. We have the biggest pandemic in 100 years that we also have to face. All of that's coming, but you know what? November is coming. There's not going to change. And frankly, this naked power grab by the Democrats, both in the state of Texas and nationally, have made it more clear than ever how big the stakes are and how important it is that we not let anything stop us from winning in November as we must. That we absolutely, if we appreciate, and we do, calm, conservative leadership like we've gotten from Governor Abbott through this, like we've gotten from President Trump through this, then we have a big battle on our hands. And thank God that we had done all the work we did leading up to this. If we had not raised record amounts of funds and saved it, if we had not already been working on hiring people, if we had not already been working on training and recruiting volunteers, if we had not already been managing things well, then we'd be behind an eight ball in a big way right now. And instead, we're going into this and we're facing this. We're going to overcome this just like everything else. And we are ready for victory in November. We are going to do the work we have to do, and we are prepared for it. I mean, thank goodness we have a big stockpile. Thank goodness we have been doing a good job raising funds. I can only imagine what it would be like if we hadn't.
That's exactly right. Appreciate that. Have we been in this? I don't know if it's fair to say good a financial shape. I mean, how long has it been since we've been had this much on reserve?
Well, actually, we've never been in this good of financial shape before. Before I was chairman, the party had peaked at just under $2 million total cash on hand. That was the most party had ever had. And we ended last year with 4.4 million cash on hand, and we went into this month with 4.7 million cash on hand. And not only 4.7 million cash, but 2.5 of that dedicated specifically to doing field effort for November. We've set it aside and we're preparing for it. We've raised it specifically for that, and there's a lot more coming.
That's very exciting to me. Here in Orange and SD3, we're mostly a rural area, and for the most part, we are Republican. We're 70-80% Republican. And so when Ted Cruz came, this close to losing his, a lot of people were sweating it. But of course, in my opinion, I think we're the ones that put him over the top. There's might differ,
Absolutely.
I think that's where this money comes in important, that we just cannot afford to come that close again, and having the staffing up like you've done, I think is going to be key.
Yeah, every time that I visit a county like Orange County, I have made the case that we, if it weren't for counties like yours, we would not have Senator Cruz. And we needed that. We desperately needed that. It was so important. And now, thankfully, we are prepared to be able to do the work we need to do to make sure that we win in urban and suburban counties as well. And that's where things got really exciting in December and in January when we won city council races, citywide city council races in Houston, and we won House District 28 in that crucial suburban district in House District 28 in Fort Bend County.
So coming up, we have county conventions. That's going to be our next big hurdle here, and I know everyone in Orange County, Liberty, Hardin, Cherokee, Trinity. We're excited to get together again and see each other and have county conventions. In the event that there's still concerns or restrictions on meeting, do you foresee there possibly being a way to do that virtually if it comes to that?
Absolutely. So, in fact, that's the point of the working group, is to figure out, if we must, how do we do that? And not only how do we do that, but how do we do that and respect the need for votes to be taken appropriately, where only delegates and seated alternates can cast those votes, so that those votes can be allocated by precinct so that they're weighted properly in any totals. There's a lot more details than just, can we get everybody online and can we, let people talk? But that's not an insignificant challenge. If you have two or three, we've got a Senate district convention that has 700 participants typically, right? How do you put 700 people together and make sure that the person who should be recognized gets to be recognized and address the body? That is not an insignificant challenge, and it's very different than just participating on a webinar or participating on an online conference. And fortunately, we've got some really smart people with a lot of experience who are taking a look, they're digging in to figure out the right thing. Frankly, I hope it isn't necessary, but it's a lot better off having hope and a plan than just the hope.
Absolutely, absolutely. And for those joining, we're here with RPT Chairman James Dickey, and just to update a report on how the party is in dealing with this coronavirus. Thank you, Chairman, for doing such a fantastic job, and the whole team that you work with. All have some great staff. And what can you tell us moving forward? Do you have any word for us just as we move on and continue to try to make the 30 days here of April and get through it, and hopefully we'll see some hope after that.
Absolutely. And we are going to, we are on the right track. We are not going to miss a single beat. It's really incredible all the things we've been able to accomplish, and it does not happen by accident. It is a result of years of preparation and hard work and an amazing team. And I am so proud of everybody who's involved with the Republican Party of Texas. It is a fantastic operation. And, my sincere thanks to you and the rest of the SREC members for a successful and historic electronic meeting on Saturday, and for each of you and your leadership in this moment. And my sincere thanks to the wonderful team at RPT who never stop working for you, keeping our party running smoothly as we navigate this challenging time. I'm going to keep you updated as other important developments occur, and they're going to occur. But one of the things I've been very proud of is the way our communications group has really stepped up during all of this and made sure that grassroots Republicans all over the state are kept in the loop as we do some really incredible things, moving this convention, changing how we did our SREC meeting, changing how we're allocating the delegates at national convention, for national convention. We're going to keep you updated. And Chairman Covey, I thank you so much for this visit tonight. These have been great questions. I hope everybody watching along learned something. I hope everybody enjoyed it. I appreciate everybody, and God bless you and your family, and may God continue to richly bless our great state of Texas.
Thank you, Chairman. Have a good evening.
You too.